Welcome back to Finding Truth podcast here on YouTube, Unscripted Truth TV. Logan here with Austin once again, and tonight we're gonna kind of pick up where we left off a little bit with our discussion. Every week we're trying to keep it. Some of the topics may overlap, but that's almost by design. It's first of all, it's hard not to. But as far as we started this off, it's almost become like a series, and I don't know when it will stop, honestly, because there's a lot to talk about, almost to the point where I think we might just sprinkle other topics in unless we get more participation from the community and they want to see something else, and that becomes known to us. This is something that we talk about a lot, is the human experience and our fellow man and ours and our fellow man's relationships with one another. And it started off with more family slash man woman relationship talk, and that's kind of evolving into mankind's relationships with one another talk. And tonight we plan on expanding it a little bit more to interracial, intercontinental, where those lines are drawn. See, what truly divides us, and if it should divide us, and should we let it divide us? And if it is dividing us, how do we stop it from dividing us? That being said, I think the focus of tonight's episode will be mostly on black-white relations, kind of piggybacking off of last episode. But I do want to dip into the whole black fatigue thing, not for the reasons everybody else is clickbaiting with that, but kind of the opposite. But we will get into it as we move forward. We're also going to, periodically check in on the race to see how our prediction from last week is doing. I know it was just a quick NASCAR talk last week. These episodes are a little bit shorter, so we're not maybe getting into things as thorough as we were before, but it is lining up to what we were talking about. So we'll talk a little bit more of that, sprinkle that in as it goes, because it should be over in about half an hour or so. But I figure, this is a robust topic and we both have a lot to say. I have a couple articles to pull up just to kind of launch our talking points. But without further ado, I'll stop yapping and send it down to Austin. How you doing, buddy?
Well, as good as can be. It's crazy. It's already our last episode of May, of the May days, and next will be 37 will be a June bug by then. But it's amazing. It's been another pretty good. I'd say a nice week overall. I mean, got done with classes. That was kind of a relief, but I mean, I actually kind of enjoyed them. I feel like I got a lot out of it. I like the people in class. They were cool. Like the teacher, instructor, for the most part. The people were, I stayed in contact with a few of them. Actually hung out with one of them and stayed with one of them on Friday night. So yeah, it's cool to at least, no matter what happens in my future and what I decide to do and how things go, it's always good, especially let's talk about relationships all these weeks in a row and this whole month now. It's kind of picking up some new relationships of people and friendships and just things like that, and who knows where things will go. But yeah, it's good to know, no matter what happens in life, you're getting things, you're getting something out of something. It's nothing's really for nothing, and that's just a good feeling. Because I didn't really know what I was getting into when those classes started and how things were gonna go and things like that. And I've been with my job, my living situation now. But yeah, it's glad good things came of it. I'm glad this week was a good week. It was fun in class. I enjoyed it. It was my favorite week we had, and it was long, but it was nice. It was a good end, and yeah, I'm glad that's over and done, and on to whatever happens next. Yeah, it's been a kind of a catching up week, getting back into things, and yeah, still recovering, still getting over the injury and stuff, and still kind of figuring things out. It's kind of a smorgasbord right now of stuff on the horizon. Not really sure how things are going to go or what's going to happen. But yeah, I'm just kind of glad and thankful for a lot of things in life, and just kind of just looking at the future, just and kind of enjoy my life and have fun, and just it's kind of what I learned this week, and kind of the attitude right now, is make the most of things, enjoy things, have as much fun as possible, make the most little moments, and yeah, that's kind of what it's all about. Especially, with summer and the nice weather and stuff coming up, it's you want to have a nice, warm, happy days ahead and a lot to look forward to, and that's what I'm looking forward to. No matter what happens, just staying positive and optimistic, staying afloat, doing what I got to do, and just kind of keeping the fort locked down. And yeah, we're already like I said last week, we're halfway to 70 now. We're at 36. These relationship episodes have been good. I've been liking we've been adding a little bit to it each week. It's kind of a new fun series, and I like that we're kind of giving people something. And yeah, like I said, if people do have, I know we were supposed to have King last week. We might have him tonight, but yeah, if anybody does, like I said, want to join or come on or has anything to say or add, it's definitely huge when we get participation and people that you know email or comment or whatever. I know, I'm not sure how many views the last one got, but it's always good when you have the community kind of shows up, and especially with something like relationships, because this is a very broad topic, and not just things we can add. A lot of people can add to it, and relationships involve all the people in our lives on all different levels, and that's kind of like a big topic tonight, just adding to it, and it's gonna have a lot more to say about it, and looking forward to getting into it when we all got to say and present for tonight.
Yeah, I agree. And anybody who comes across it really should just be, you know, really it just takes people opening it up enough. And it could be that people just are watching enough of our episodes, and that is what it is. Uh, luckily, I think you were saying earlier too, this has kind of been a nice therapy outlet for you these last few weeks with how much you stuff got going on. But even never mind
Oh yeah.
calling it therapy, which is a buzzword, so careful. You might get some, people live and die by that stupid word. But uh, I think more than anything, you just mean it's like it's some level of like outlet. And even before you needing a stress outlet necessarily, it was always an outlet for me. It's just I can only say so much to my girlfriend. I can only say so much to my kiddo as well. So it's not like everything that I come across, I bombard my family with, no matter because this stupid half smooth brain of mine, it doesn't stop. I'm connecting dots all day long, every day. When I'm in any form to be reading into headlines or looking, keeping my finger on the pulse of where we're going as a nation and as a people or as humans all together. Uh, I can't help but draw parallels, and I have a pretty photographic memory, and I have a very it's a memory that loves just drawing lines. It's like as soon as the synapses fire quick when things connect, and so it doesn't really stop for me. And so being able to once a week come here and bore you with everything I think about is regardless of viewership, which I hope one day will come, just off the back of truth emerging in our society again. Because I think this could be, in fact, I think we should highlight a whole episode about truth. I know we use the moniker as truth seekers and things of that nature, but like truth versus lies. And it's not even just like lies as in a straight up you know grass is purple. It's 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 full on deception versus honest, like honest heartedness versus you know ill will and ill intent. I think a lot of, a lie and the truth has more to do with the intent than it does the actual outcome. Uh, and that has obviously, if you're on a math test, I don't know where I was going with that, but I mean, there's straight up versions where you can't just lie about something, but really it's the intent that hurts people. When you lie to somebody, if it's about, you saying the peach tastes good when it doesn't, it's like, okay, you have some weird intent behind that. It's not to hurt them necessarily. Whereas, you could, you catch my drift. But yeah, the intent with the truth as well as lies is more important. So I think we should eventually, continue this conversation into, because it is a community thing. And that's what I was piggybacking on initially. I just get lost in yapping. But yeah, I mean, like you said, it's a community effort. And, when we have the community behind us, even if it's just like letting their voices be heard, who cares what you're saying? But especially if you want to get involved in the conversations we're having, or you want to expand those conversations, that's what it's all about. Because it's not like it's like, yeah, I'll say normies, not to be offensive or anything, but they can come across our videos. Of course, it's not to necessarily just, you know, feed everybody who already knows about what we talk about the same information. It's about expanding the topics. And yes, we want the normies to see it so they stop being normies. It took one video of Zach's to, I was already pretty fringe to begin with, but it took one video of Zach's and I've changed my life. It's so there are things that, it's not about like catering to the community. It's about growing the community. It's about the community stretching out the arms. It's just like right now we can only influence how big of a circle, not very large. But if, us and Rich form a, you know, a coalition. I don't know what a good word for that right now, but if our range of influence gets larger, and it's, like I said, with truth at its intent, it's not, how can you go wrong, in my opinion? So
Yeah, and it's like I said too, like, yeah, when we started tonight too, this to me it is like a therapy session, because it's like, yeah, I mean, it's more effective if I go out to Pike's Place, or I go outside and I pound pavement, or I'm talking to people at the gym. It's like, how many people actually watch what we're doing, and how many people you know how many views we get. I can reach way more people out on the street, and way more people at the gym or something, than when then we're reaching on here. And that's just the thing, is we're not going to change the world and make the world a better place on here with the way things are going. But at the same time, this is the chance to, this is our therapy. This is us getting it out for the little people that do view. It's to me, it's about the quality ship of the viewers, and the people that, actually do want to, do something. It's kind of like what I learned from, just the class and stuff, like the people that I stayed in contact with, people that I hang out with, people that, that's what it's all about. It's about, having people, and people, to talk to and hang out with, and, having those connections, and that's what it's all about. And wanting to do that, and, having people, I think a lot of times, you know, people just, they might see something like, our channel, and they see it doesn't have many views, and yeah, we're not reaching a lot of people, but yeah, we're not going to change the world, or make an impact at this rate. We're not hitting a lot of people, but the people that do tune in, I know a decent amount of people that tune in every week. Those are the ones that really matter. The people that new people that come in, the people that maybe do see a video here or there, or the ones that do catch, a new video, or do come on or whatever. Those people that it's, I'm more interested in, people that want to, either participate, or people that just have something to offer. I mean, that's the thing. And, that's why we've been having relationship be the topic of May in this whole month. I mean, because at the end of the day, it does all boil down to relationships, no matter how you look at it. And, yeah, I mean, we 4 straight weeks of this, and it's something that we could just keep going on all summer, all year. I mean, it's because that's where humanity's, if we're all going to be tapped out, in the next 5 years or whatever. I mean, this is what it's going to come down to. It's going to come down to people, relationships, and how that's managed, how people work things out, and what people do. I mean, are people going to, you know, be, you know, find each other and work together or come together on any level in any way? Or, is there going to be any of that? Is there going to be, because we're not, you're not going to win when you're just everyone's just a lone wolf all the time. I mean, I know I can have that mentality, but that's kind of like what I, realized this week is it's you need to, vent and get out and go do things, experience things, go ahead, have fun and enjoy your life and do what people got to do. I mean, like the saying, a man's got to do what a man's got to do. You got to go enjoy life. You got to have fun. You got to make the most of things. I don't want to just be someone like we say all the time, someone that just makes videos. And at this rate, I mean, we're not getting thousands, millions of views. We're not going to change the world this way. But, I mean, yeah, you're going to reach more people out on the street, but, that's not going to get it done either. It's about who you have around you, the people that you do have that you can gather and just what you can kind of do from there. I mean, it's just, that's where we're at. I mean, you got to look at society for what it is and where we are and just take what you can get out of it, and you have to, have that line in the sand, and you have to what needs need to be met, and that's the problem. And you got so many people that they are just they don't even want to they're just too far gone, and they're just they can't even enjoy their life and have fun and have anything or do anything anymore. And there's just way too many people that are in those positions and too many people that are in those spots that just they're just so isolated from the world. I mean, even someone like me who's the Sigma male type. I still need to go do my things now and then, and go travel or do something or experience something. I mean, everybody does, and that's what the whole point of this channel is. I mean, and what we do. I mean, this is it's an outlet for us, and it's an outlet for others, for people to connect with and see us connecting and want to connect and want to do things and hear what we have to say and understand our position and and give their own feedback too if they want to. And and a place for people to not feel so hopeless, helpless, and just beat down by the system. Yeah, there's not many people that will go out and pound payment, but there's not many people that will go out and even make YouTube videos either, or do what we're doing. So that's the point. I mean, there is a method to the madness, and I think that this week kind of really reminded me that of what I, need in my own life, in own ways. And I think that that's just something going forwards. Cause um, I mean, what else, like I know I was watching Zach's video too, like yesterday or whatever too. And like how he was saying, he's, never been, more not optimistic, more pessimistic about things. And I feel it too right now. And that's why like this week, I just, it kind of hit me like, yeah, you got to get away, man. You got to go do this. You got to go do that. You got to just go do something, and that's why we do what we do every week. There's a method to the madness, and if people just apply that and apply just that kind of just that, uh, God's plan. You just got to trust in God's plan, and you just got to keep marching forward, and you do your part, and he does his. It's like, or you got these other people too. Like a lot of people just they want to pray, but they don't want to be able to action. Don't want to do anything. Yeah, don't be like that. Don't just pray. Don't just have no action. You got to, if you're gonna pray, make sure you have action. Make sure you're doing something, and and that's that. It's a 50-50 relationship with God. You do something, he'll reward you. He'll be there in the end, and I think that's the big point right now. A lot of people just they don't have that connection. They don't have that God element, that God energy. They just don't have that spirit inside them that needs them to do what they got to do in life. And someone has to be that light, that shining light, to lead the way. And that's what we tend to do every week. So shout out to the people that do view us every week and the people that do care and do support. I know there's not a lot, but the people that are out there, we definitely really appreciate it, because there's not much of us out here. That's for sure. We are Very outnumbered.
Yeah, especially yeah, no, I totally back up everything you're saying there. And yeah, especially like the idea that for me, without getting into religion before we talk about our main topic, it's once again, I think I've said this before, but who can imagine, a God that wants you to sit in place and not show promise. It's like, why would you it's such a trick that they got you guys. They got you under a spell with with man-made books. And the truth is in your heart. It's it. Everybody knows it. And for reference, it's not like we knew each other. In fact, the odds were against us because we didn't even like go out of our way enough when we were right in front of each other when we first met to extend our relationship, if you will. But
Yep.
I think between both of us, we were like, there's something there. We can make something out of this. And we had a call, like we had a phone call too, but we had a call to do something. We just knew we should be corresponding in some way, form, or fashion. And we made two phone calls before we were like already on StreamYard, like 2 weeks after we had our first phone call or something like that. Maybe a month. It was a quick month if it was. But we just knew that action was more important. It's not like we had some plan. We don't. This is unscripted truth, guys. So it's not like we had any script or any huge plan behind this thing. We just knew we had to do something. And what I will say is, nothing's written in stone or anything like that. But I do, we do have mental. It's at this point, it's kind of like dream boarding that we ever find that we soon find. Eventually, I won't say soon, but eventually, find ourselves in positions to be able to make that personal impact that we've talked about. I want to get involved with Zach, and like I've said multiple times, maybe even Rich can drive or train or fly up here, or we go down there. Who knows? There's a lot more people in California than both our states combined. Maybe not combined, but still, no, maybe actually combined. So maybe that's a weekend we can get a lot of the California truth seekers together, and throw something together. I know that there's a lot of quote unquote truth seekers in Oregon. I know there are from Zach's community. There's a lot in Oregon. I'm sure there is in Washington too, in the hub city like Seattle, but especially since he's gone up there multiple times. But I know there are a lot in Oregon, and so somewhere in the middle or whatever. I'd love to barbecue, pick, just fill up a park. Not it doesn't even have to be food related. It's just the first thing that comes to mind with people generally. But just really just take stock on maybe that's the spark people need. You know what I mean? I can imagine that that Portland trip wasn't a very good. It definitely didn't do more harm than good. I won't say that ever is more harm than good because action is required for change. So yeah, Zach could have never came out. Yeah, I could have made an excuse to not come out. Yeah, you could have just chose not to drive 3 hours away. But it's not like the reward was present and waved in front of our faces, but it ends up the reward's been a brand new 36-week-old fresh baby that we just I won't say that we just had, but what are we going to name it, Austin? Our baby. Yeah, we got a 9-month-old channel. So, these things gestate quickly, if you will. And yeah, so the rewards are unforeseen, and that's what makes things fulfilling. If you know the reward, you'll work half as hard to get it, even if it's something you want. It's you have to have your own. You have to answer that call that nobody else hears the phone ring, and you got to answer that call. And everybody's getting the call. It's just so many people have probably put it on Not even on vibrate. It's probably just on, they
Their phone's just dead. They don't even got a
yeah,
phone.
yeah, they took the battery out. They're sick of hearing that phone call, and that, they just, but we really do need people to. It doesn't have to be by getting involved in our channel. You can do whatever, but that's the problem with the world, is that, if enough people felt the call to do anything in their own lives to, or, outside of their lives even, to, because it's not like we're heroes. We don't consider ourselves heroes for doing this podcast.
Right.
And a lot of it is selfish. We've been transparent about that, especially today. Just like we both said, this has been for us. It's not like it's solely for some like grand purpose, although there is that element with it. It's also been for us as well, and it's also been an outlet for our combined knowing that we need to do more than just walk around and bump into things for the rest of our lives, and meeting a like-minded person and knowing we had some sort of resonating energy. Should we keep those energies weak and separate, or should we combine them? It's like mitosis or whatever it is. Where we got to keep positive energy. Needs to The impact that a crowd of positive people can have on the world is, it's like, it's in the tens, but in that same breath, the impact a group of negative people can have on the world is in the ones. So we need to, whether or not it's getting involved in our channel, even if it's just presenting topics. Hell, hop on the channel. Who cares? You don't got to show your face. Just say whatever you want to say. uh I, there's ways to get involved in the comments section, and it doesn't have to be. It's not like we're interaction farming either. We're not like looking to like monetize this right now and like, ooh, YouTube's our source of income. Who knows what the future will hold, but I don't think that that's going to be possible generally with the way we talk. So anyway,
Right.
anyway, and the topics we cover. So really, it's more about presenting us with a tapestry. Once people see, like I was talking about, the fill up a park, and people are like, damn, people are coming out now. It's time for me to go out. It's like people do need that spark, unfortunately. But I'm saying unfortunately because I was that person too. I was getting a call and I just kept not answering it. I just kept not answering it, kept not answering it. I knew, I had lots of issues that I was able to solve relatively quickly after I just owned up and answered the damn call and took responsibility. But most of the things that I owned up to and take responsibility for are more in my personal life, but it's bled out into, obviously, uh, getting together with you and wanting to expand this into a more far-reaching, whatever plan.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing at the end of the day. I always, that's why I always say I don't judge anybody, and everybody can, is their own person, and I get that, respect, understand that, and um, yeah, I don't tell anybody what to do. I don't like taking orders. I don't like giving orders, but my advice for everyone that watch channel, like no matter what we do to motivate, inspire you, whatever you get out of it, it's just to do something. Maybe for someone it's just to get them out of the house and walk. Just go for a walk, or just go for a drive, or just go talk to that person. Go hang out with someone. It doesn't have to even be anything with this channel or us or anything. It's just just go do something. It doesn't matter what it is. Go just like I said, go for a walk, go for a run, go to the trampoline park, go to the gym, go, if you can take a trip, just go on a little road trip, but it's simple little things, you see a little cat or something, go pet the cat, go pet a dog, just try and live a little bit in life, just try and have a little bit of life left in you. I think that's the biggest thing, is they've really stripped that and taken that away from people, and that's been a huge part of the agenda, and why we are where we are, and we're just so far behind, and things are so messed up. And that's what's just got to come back. I mean, there just has to be that humanity. I know, and they've really done a great job in the last 5 years. And like I said, at times I've been part of it too. I mean, I understand it can be very hard and stuff, and it's something you have to manage. You have to battle it. You have to fight it. You know, you have to. But at the end of the day, I mean, you know, as long as you're on the right path and you're trying, you're doing something, you're putting something out, you'll always get something back in return. And like I said, you know, whatever you do, it doesn't have to be much of anything. Just, you know, just everybody can do something. Everyone's got a purpose to some degree. Everyone can offer something. And but that's just the thing. I mean, you never know just um, who you're going to meet or what's going to happen. You know, it's like the, you know, I know, you know, the day we, like I said, we met up there in Portland. You know, I didn't even sleep that night. You know, I didn't get any sleep, and it's like I could have just laid in bed, said, "Oh fuck, I got to drive all the way down there and all the way back, and I didn't sleep, and I'm gonna be out there 10 hours pounding pavement. You know, it's gonna be just exhausting." It's like I never felt, you know, for once that I was, you know, wasting my time or I shouldn't go or I shouldn't do it or I didn't want to. It's just, you know, like I said, I always wanted to get out there, pound pavement, meet people, do things, and meet up with Zach. And that's just what I want to do and how I want to do things. And that's just, you know, I'm just determined. And I just think you have to be determined to the smallest things, you know, uh, especially when you're down and out or something's wrong or it ain't right in your life, or maybe you're, you know, sick, tired, injured, or you're going through something. You know, it's always just taking those little steps, doing little things. It doesn't matter what it is. Like I said, just having smallest little things it make the biggest difference. And that right there is where we're losing, and that's where we have to start winning, and we have to start overturning that and coming back from that and making a comeback, because it's just that's just been too much of humanity's just been stripped away, especially in the last 5 years. But it's been going on a lot longer than that. It's been going on my whole life. But that's just the biggest thing right there, and that's hopefully what people, you know, get out of this is, you know, we really do try to motivate and inspire people. And if people do, you know, hopefully, I know there's other people out there, and there's a lot of people that, you know, you know, maybe they see other YouTube channels or someone else, and they get motivated or inspired by someone else, or someone else out there really pushes them to do something as well. And that's where it all starts. Because if you don't have, you know, like I was saying, you know, there's too many Indians, there's not enough chiefs, there's not enough leaders in society. And it's uh like you said, we're not about, you know, the money and the materialism, and especially what we do. I mean, we pretty much prove that every episode that we're not here for the big uh the big semi truck load of gold. You know what I mean? The big stash of fake money. The what was that? The digital, chasing a digital number on a screen. That's We're not here to chase digital numbers on a screen, but we might talk a little gematria here and there, and might talk about some other numbers, just not the fake ones.
Absolutely. Speaking of numbers on a screen, I just want to show you something that might be the most wild thing. We even mentioned this just last week. Yeah, we were joking, but take a look at this, dude. Something happened. All those guys just dropped. And just look who is right in the mix.
Ginsburg's been like running like 20th this whole race.
Yo,
He's been up here, man.
yo.
I was watching. He's like running mid pack, halfway through. I'm like,
Something
you know,
just happened, like a big something. They everybody basically it's a three-man race. There's nobody coming back. Byron, Hamlin, they all just dropped. I don't know if it was some sort of bump and grind action, some ushers action took place.
could be pit
Or
stops too or something. Yeah.
is that how that works? Or so they are choosing to do the whole like maybe take a skip the pit stop basically and have their car running like not as fresh as on bad tires. Is that the risk that they're kind of taking? Because there goes maybe that's oh there goes my boy. No.
Yeah, they're probably cycling through pit stops or whatever.
Okay, makes sense. 50 laps to go, probably
Yeah,
something like
especially
that.
with this long of a race. I mean, it could obviously come down to a fuel mileage or something too. You know, that
Yeah,
Remember Casey Mears won his first and only race in 2007 here on fuel mileage. So
Oh, you're right. It was a pit because here they are coming out of pit, and now they're back. Everyone, all the ones that pitted are back now. Byron, Hamlin, the Dinger. Okay, okay, that makes sense. So that explains that. I was always wondering what happened there, or if it was some sort of like quick caution or like not a wreck, but like a pile up type of deal where everybody got slowed down and a few cars made it out type of deal. But pit stops make sense too, or make sense. But Elliott jumped in there, and we'll see if he has to pit. Yeah, it looks like Elliott pit too. All right, well, it looks like our one dog in the fight is still right there. He's right there. So we'll see if that comes to fruition. And if it is Hamlin who is Jordan centric and picks up the win, I mean, I think that's pretty clear that we had our fingers on the pulse of this whole Jordan centric All Star weekend or All Star 2 week All Star thing. It'd also be interesting too if the resolution to the whole lawsuit with Jordan came to fruition after this week, because that's what I kind of see all of this. If they do a Jordan ritual, I'm sure it'll be tied to the lawsuit with NASCAR.
yeah, because the Daytona 500 and usually the Brickyard 400 and the Coca-Cola 600 are like the three biggest races all year. So
Very interesting. Just taking a quick look. Interesting if I was also, earlier on in the race, I saw McDowell was running pretty good, and I just thought that'd be a funny little like joke, like Mickey D's joke, because they obviously have the Coca Cola contract, probably the biggest Coca Cola contract in the country. So if Mickey D's one would be funny. Michael McDowell. Neck and neck. But it's definitely not over yet. 35 laps. Getting pretty close though. If you're gonna make a move, and you're down here, it's got to be pretty soon, you'd assume. Also, I imagine, like, let's just play devil's advocate, and this is all real. I'm sure the teams would be like, if you're Bell, you're probably doing really well in the points category. To drop down to a DNF, trying to make a crazy move here is probably not what your team is telling you to do. The teams probably would be telling you, hey, aim for seventh, try to hit a seventh. If you can make a top 5 move, maybe do it, but otherwise just try to get that top 10, keep this top 10 as like, to keep building on your points rather than DNFing and uh, tanking the race basically. So I'm sure that that's another way that Sports Center can talk about it, is that why it's not an all out cluster to win the race. In the last 30 laps, you're not going to see a bunch of people go. You don't see cars go out of character and take it wide when you should be hugging the turn. You know what I mean? Because the risk is not a core. Let's just say it's all real. It'd be better to place 10th than to obviously crash in the last 20 laps.
yeah, I thought it used to be, especially back in the Winston Cup, because it was all about consistency. So like 2003 when Kenseth won it, he only won one race, but um yeah, it was all, you could finish top 5 all year, top 10 all year, not win it all, and win the championship. Is all about consistency. And now it's, at the playoffs and the way that things are, they've changed it so much that they put so much more emphasis on the winning, especially, they got stages in the race now, and all the extra cautions and all that. So you have all these different elements now that play into it too. And even people that advance in the playoffs, you might need to win, or you gotta score a certain amount of points or beat a certain driver to advance. And the last race, you gotta whoever finishes the highest wins it. So they've totally changed how it used to be. It used to be more that way. It used, and it wasn't, bumper cars, demolition derby now, like now it is, where people are kind of just running into each other too, and a lot of tracks. And it used to be more of like quality drivers and stuff, like keeping your car clean and just getting a good finish and stuff like that. Now it's a lot different. I know this is kind of a race too, where it's a more of a, well, it's a speedway, but it's a mile and a half. So I mean, you don't want to really beat up the car too much. Still want to kind of keep it clean. But yeah, this is always kind of one of those races where you don't really know, like I said, how it's going to go. I don't since they should be. I mean, with the laps remaining, that should have been probably their last pit stop, unless there's possibly a caution late and then people come to pit road. There's some kind of strategy or something that might be what determines this race, because this race always kind of has its own way that it ends. It's either someone wins on fuel mileage, or rarely ever kind of somebody just kind of dominates it.
Oh man, Coca-Cola Company's 88. Imagine Gisbergen wins. Woo. Be sick.
Seen Jimmy Johnson's in this race too. That's interesting. I think he DNF'd. I think he's last.
What? Oh my goodness. Why did he come back? I didn't see that headline. Not
He
like
used
he's
to he used to dominate this race. He should have won it back in 2002, but he won it 2003, 2004, 2005. And go
yes.
figure, it was the Lowell's race, Lowell's, and then it's his
He's from
sponsors Lowell. So this was always a place where he was winning. He should have won 4 in a row, but
You wonder why. I'm on
a lot
the
of
edge of
times
my
they
seat.
have they had a different, Roush won. Kenseth won his first race here in 2000. Jeff Burton won it 2001. Mark Martin won it 2002. So there was like a 3 in a row for Roush, and then there was 3 in a row for Hendrick, 2003, 2004, 2005 with Jimmy Johnson. So there was kind of a sequence they were kind of doing it in. So it's always interesting.
Quickly go to NASCAR. I believe this was a Reddick, right? Yeah. Reddick with the best individual of the field. Charlotte, North Carolina is 106. I don't know if I mentioned that before. Interesting. Well, founded in 1892. How old is that? It's 2025. Okay, so 30, 130. Wow. Is it 133 years old? Imagine. Goes from it was obviously, the cocaine. Well, not like cut cocaine or anything like that, but what was the other active ingredient in the original Coca-Cola? Cocaine and caffeine. Okay, but yeah, coca leaves. Well, Okay, so those are the active ingredients. There was another. Anyway, so we'll leave it at that. But obviously, people know where Coca-Cola came from. It's humble beginnings. It's like, but then now it's just drain cleaner, and people still drink it. It's just like, what? So it started out as liquid drugs, and now it's liquid Drano. And you guys are still cool with it. It's still the like number one beverage. My gosh. You also got to wonder too. It's like, people say Coca-Cola, and there's not even the connotation of the coca leaf attached to it anymore. It's like the brand overtook the item that it's named from.
Yeah,
It's like it's more of a noun than the actual thing derives its name from.
it's like Dr. Pepper. The 23 flavors of Dr. Pepper.
First of all, gross. Baskin Robbins has as many flavors are in your one soda.
Yeah, they should have called
I,
it the Dr. Pepper 600 with the 23 flavors, 23 with Jordan, the 23 race team if it comes through.
Well, is Dr. Pepper not underneath the Coca-Cola umbrella?
It might be.
Oh, apparently they're bastard children, and they're under all of them. Okay, so it just does business with all three. That's why you'll see it next to Coke and next to Pepsi. Interesting. I mean, I thought it was by itself originally. At least that's the story, because that's another drink that was made as a not in the same sense of, which is funny because you have Dr. Pepper and it has doctor in the name, but it wasn't made initially medicinally. I think it was like it was made by a pharmacist, which, by the way, pharmacists, we'll have to get into this when we get back into our conspiracy videos and stuff. But I want to go down the rabbit hole of early American pharmaceuticals, because I follow these channels that like go around and like dig up people's yards, and because they have like old maps and they know where like old trash heaps used to be, and they find all sorts of cool stuff in the ground. And in doing so, like what that market kind of dictates is rare are these like one-off bottles from like patented bottles from certain like niche pharmaceutical um, clinics or whatever they were, because a lot of pharmacies were operated out of people's houses, like early on. Not everybody had like a clinic that you would go to, and a pharmacist, they did not have to go to school. There was no like 4-year degree, what to be a pharmacist now is like 2 years practicing, for like 8-year degree or something like that, or maybe not 8, but like 4 at least, obviously. And then you have to do like practical, like working in a pharmacist in order to be considered a pharmacist. Back then, you just had to call yourself a pharmacist and have access to bottles, and
Yeah.
you could put whatever the hell you wanted in there. I mean, the stories, it's never ending. Like the croup medication that was literally just instant cyanide, basically, for kids. It just, they're, of course, it's not like people were monsters, and once they found out that it was doing that, they just kept making it. But it was that free of a time back then that people were just making things that thought would sell, basically, that would catch like wildfire and go with it. Well, I say all that to say that the origin of soda, that's what that comes out of. It's the sweetening of medicine, which is funny because now what's interesting about that is like lean. Like that's old pharmaceuticals. That's like original pharmaceuticals is lean. Lean used to be what like Coca-Cola was lean. You know what I mean? Except cocaine was, it wasn't cocaine, the active ingredient, it is ephedrine or pseudoephedrine, whatever. But it's the same idea. It's ephedrine and caffeine. Pseudoephedrine, or yeah, that's what lean is. In the old days, it was just cocaine and caffeine and a sugary mix. So it's interesting that you apply it to these like gangsters nowadays, but really they could be walking around with like, oh, hey, that with a little cane and their bowler hats, and they'd be drinking the same shit. They're not so different after all.
Yep. It's lean, it's mean, it's caffeine.
What the hell did that come from? That was sick. Nice, dude. Uh-oh. Where'd he go? The DNF? No, something happened to Hamlin, though. Okay, looks like it's a three-headed. No, two-headed, really. It's just Chastain and Byron here. We'll see if Byron can hold them off for the pretty dominant race here.
Yeah, Chastain hasn't won all year either.
A couple of Chevys just driving to the levee.
Kozlowski's finally going to hopefully get a good finish.
He was leading for quite a bit. Maybe not quite a bit, but for a bit. I mean, he's there. There's still 9 laps. Something could happen.
Yeah.
And something usually does happen, interestingly enough. I mean, something did happen for Hamlin to drop all the way. He's a lap behind. What the hell happened to you, bro?
Yeah, something happened to I looked when they were like on like lap 20 to start, and Larson was like leading, and then something happened to him. So
yeah,
Blaney DNF'd.
I mean, is Blaney having the worst season of his career? What's he looking like in points? Oh, that's good.
I think he won this race 2 years ago. I think that was his first win of 2023.
He's not doing bad. I guess he's been having some good finishes or top 10s or top 5s or something, and I just didn't notice it. If he just needs one more lap.
Yeah, this hasn't been able to win. Yeah, he had I think this was the race he won. He won 2 years ago. I think it was his first win of the season, and he won the championship too. It's always interesting too. A lot of people that win the 500 and they go on to win like the 600 or the Brickyard or something like that. A lot of times they go on to win the championship too. So it's always something to look for.
Bubba rounding out the 10th too. Crazy. Like I've never even heard the name John Hunter Nemechek, yet he's somehow in the top 20. Interesting.
I think that's Joe Nemechek's kid.
Logano creeping up after that win. He was definitely further down not that long ago. Damn. Larson's led 800 laps this year. No one's even close. Byron has half of that. Guess that's how you win. He's won 3. Yeah. And
Because Larson's had a couple just dominating races where he's just led like the whole races and dominated. Like Byron did at Darlington, got screwed over. That's what I'm wondering tonight. Is it going to be another Darlington for Byron, or is he going to actually win this one?
Let's see. Oh,
Chastain.
Chastain. Uh-oh. It is a neck and neck little dogfight here. We'll let this play out. We honestly have never done this. So this will
There
be
might be a caution.
I need to throw caution to the wind. Let these boys play. On the side over here, I will ah. Oh my gosh. Chrome. Stop. I believe it's oh, it's Ross. That's right. Oh yeah, I remember looking this guy up. For some reason, I thought his name was Ryan.
Big Rossi.
Yeah, it's Ross. I remember looking this guy up now. It's got that lead. Man, what the hell, dude? Why do these guys have such overlapping names? Like even McDowell, his middle name's Christopher. It's just like, bro, all your guys' names are in other drivers' names. I mean,
Like
even
William Byron Lee.
yeah, and even like Kyle Larson, his middle name is Miata. It's like, bro, what are the odds? You should drive a Mazda.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
At 47. Uh-oh. It's all coming up Millhouse for the Chastainer. Oh, he took it.
Oh, it's Chastain did it. Number one is number one.
Yeah, he did pole one, didn't he? Oh no, he drives number one. Number one was I'll know it when I see his name. Briscoe, I think, pulled.
Yep. Like the 500 is on the pole for that too. He's on the pole for the 600.
So not a bad race for him. Especially because he's in the chase.
Yeah.
Chase Briscoe. Chase Elliott. Chasing you down. Carson. Oh, it's so good. Ross Chastain. What gave it away here? What were we missing? Let's go check your good old fashioned birthday. Your birthday. Let's bring this down a little bit because I'm not blind. 32 years old, December 4th. There's so many December birthdays in NASCAR. It's wild. $172 days.
I don't even know where Chastain started tonight. I'm not even sure what his starting position was.
I'll have to look it up. I don't know where you see that. Oh, that's right. I was like wondering, where did the demonstrator go? It's just what is. Coke. Where's he from? Where the hell did I put that? Oh, I went back to this. Track house. Okay. Trackhouse Racing. Who owns Trackhouse? Do you know?
No, I think it's a newer team or something. 47-74.
Spelled out. Even 100. Oh, I mean, you got Trackhouse Racing and Coca-Cola Company matching up. I mean, that doesn't seem arbitrary at all. Obviously, given the hindsight. But, you know, let's take a look at Trackhouse. See who's under their wing. What is this? Was this this building 7? You look at it, it's like formed in 2001. They do have Project 91. Okay, that's just kind of weird. Anyway. Hey, Shane's joined the team this year. Okay. I still don't cone with. Oh, this is Pitbull's team. Interesting. And it's from North Carolina.
Oh, go figure.
There you go. I mean, see, this like if we were to literally put more time into these things would uncover themselves and you know provide more of a you know foresight than hindsight. We were just talking about how Pitbull owned a team just I think 2 or 3 weeks ago when we were talking about the initial celebrity Jordan NASCAR, you know, fusing sports and entertainment thing. And now here he is getting his win. First win of the year. All right, let's take a look at Pitbull. I'm assuming this is for him in some form or fashion. God, I can't stand looking at him though.
He's 44.
Yeah, people who like Pitbull music is just like, oh man, oh no. So it's just I feel so bad. Not even mad. Disappointed. Armando Christian Perez. I don't know. I said it's Armando. Honestly, Armando's a better name than Pitbull. Oops. Did I spell that correct? And then people. It's Mr. Worldwide. Does got the 97 like Trackhouse. Interesting.
Yep.
I gotta see.
144.
153 too.
Yep.
Which is funny too, because like Worldwide, they sure are.
Yep.
They sure are worldwide, aren't they? So I'm sure there's more to this. It's 44 going, I'd say it's January 15th. "33 weeks from his birthday and 4 days, but interesting, 33. What area code is? Where was this exactly? Charlotte, North Carolina. "704 and then 980.
704, like 74, 47. Yep.
Exactly. And then what about from his last birthday? 130 days. Sure. NASCAR's got that 106 too.
NASCAR at the 43 as well.
Yeah. Pitbull. What week is this? No. I guess stats might have it, huh? Oh, wait. There's been 12. Okay, 12 weeks.
Twelve races.
I wonder if they've already updated, or I would assume so. I don't think there's been 13. So I think this was the 12th race. Let's take a look. Oh, these are the standings. What about? Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
If it says Chastain's got a win, then you know it's updated.
But it is 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. No, it's 13. I guess it just hasn't updated that page yet. But you are right. Oh no, you're right. It doesn't update it. It hasn't updated yet. I thought you were saying it did, and okay, I see. You're saying if it does. Okay, cool. Yeah, so they haven't updated yet. So the 13th race of the year, which is interesting because was that not 130 days from Pitbull's birthday?
Yep.
130 days, like 13. And who else does he co-own that Trackhouse? Which, by the way, I should look up Trackhouse because a lot, that's on their logo, not Trackhouse Racing.
21, 59.
Market. Founded in 2020. Something else was something else went worldwide that year.
Yeah.
By Justin Marks. Okay, so Pitbull. Oh yeah, that's right. Because I read that Pitbull's not a part of it anymore. Interesting. Justin Marks. Is he like former NASCAR or something? Let's take a look. What you got to say for yourself, Justin? Used to be. Or still is. He's 44 as well. It's a couple of 44-year-olds hugging it out. Okay, yeah, but yeah, very recently like this year, Pitbull left that racing team. That's what I was reading in that article about Michael Jordan. Interestingly enough, too.
Justin marks the spot.
I'm just curious. Why is it's so weird for me to read this? Okay, there. Okay, here we go. Yesterday, I didn't see that. There's only one game today. I thought they did 2 games until the finals. Huh.
I haven't even been keeping track of that.
Has it always been like that? I thought they did 2 games all the way until the finals, but I guess they're trying to milk it nowadays. They got Amazon streaming some of them. It's all spread out. I'm sure everybody's got their fingers in the pie, so they want their individual days for as much traffic to their sites as possible. I know I saw the Jim Irsay Colts owner die, and the Pacers are kicking ass all of a sudden. What do you know? But looks like they got one back tonight. So it looks like the Timberwolves will play tomorrow. I'm just curious why I was looking at it. If the Wolves played tonight, I was going to say that's a lock. Well, maybe. Who knows what they do with it, but obviously a famous Minnesota figure's death anniversary today, George Floyd.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay, well, looks like tomorrow is the next game, and it will be in I would only assume that OKC had the home court advantage, so the next game will be in Minnesota. It'd be interesting if his death anniversary is wedged in between 2 Minnesota wins. That'd be kind of interesting. I mean, they blew him out last game. Like, how do you win the first 2 games and then lose by 42? Which, by the way, 42 is a very interesting number to lose by for the guy who kicked off Black Lives Matter. That is, obviously this game took place a day before his death anniversary. So how do you lose by 42 to it? It's just, that's people. I think people know. It's pretty clear to me. I think people know, but it's just the entertainment is just too much. The value of just turning the brain off and suspending belief rather than using critical thinking skills is obviously the more tempting choice for the average human being. And that including me back in the day. So yeah, well, I'm sure, I'm not sure, but who knows? There could have been something to do with that involved in NASCAR. Probably, maybe not. Who knows? But I also haven't checked the headlines. One interesting thing is though that when I was looking up some topics, I didn't see anything about it. Honestly, the only reason I knew it was his death anniversary is because I was getting a picture of him for the thumbnail. I had no idea. So I learned today that his death anniversary is today. So
it's knee on the neck.
Yeah, it's kind of like they let go of that cash cow, if you know what I mean. Or at least it's definitely not as prevalent. I don't, and unless maybe Portland's being redestroyed today in his honor. Let's see. It's just type the man's name. Say his name. Here we go. Thousands remember. Why is the BBC reporting on it? And he's from North Carolina.
Oh.
Yeah, I would hazard a guess that definitely this race was, put together in that with that in mind. Wow, look at all the North Carolina connections coming out of the woodworks.
Yeah.
October 14th. Let's just do a quick check and then I think we will move on to 223 7-Eleven.
Another 23.
Yeah. 20 weeks and 2 days. $4.19 is a lot like April 19th. But yep. I don't think that's not really how that works. It's just just something to bring up. But Ignition Loyola Day is what that is, in case anyone's wondering. I love how that's his image. Not like a shot of him like at a family cookout or like at the precinct. It's just a top like torso up from him being on his neck. I'm laughing, but because it's funny. That's why I'm laughing. Not that anyone was killed or why they were killed or any of this. This is all a psyop. I'm laughing at a psyop. I could care less, honestly, outcome or any part of this. It's really the grand design and scheme of the psyop that I don't laugh at. When you put the glasses on, a lot of it is quite funny, in my opinion. I like actually tickles me. It's actually fun. A lot of the things that go on in this world are actually funny to me because I am outside of it. I'm outside of it. I can look at it and be like, oh, what the heck? People are getting fooled, that they think that's going to work on people, and a lot of the times it does, and obviously it works on a lot of people. But I guess there's a little bit of air of it's a little air of I'm kind of thumbing my nose up or whatever the saying is at it a little bit, because it's just like it's so stupid it's funny. A lot of these things are so stupid that it's actually funny. But that
Yeah, I remember back in 2020, when I left Seattle, I was in Wyoming, and I was talking to the people I was working with when I was moving. I was explaining the George Floyd thing, like, I can't breathe, and the knee on the neck, and the face diaper. You're in the face diaper, you can't breathe. Your knees on the neck, you can't breathe. And now they're chanting it, and the fact that the police officer and George Floyd knew each other from like a club in Vegas and stuff. How they knew each other, and they're like trying to deny it. They're like, oh, they're like trying to defend the story. They're like, oh, they didn't know each other, and all the, like they're a lot of them trying to defend it and stuff, and it's just like, um, defend the stupidness of the story and just all this, nonsense. It's like how they got, how they get people to care about this stuff so much and partake in it, like they know these people and they know the facts. It's like, I mean, how can you not see that? In this course, it happens, in Minneapolis, Minnesota, about 4 hours from where I'm originally from, and how it's got to, right next door to the state, and it's got to be, what was it, the police cruiser, was it 201 or 56 or whatever, too, I forget, but just the way they had all that set to go, and then the guy just standing there, the people was like, bro, 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 and they didn't even do anything. They stood there and just said that. I was just like, it was retarded.
Seeing the bigger picture, but it looks like they've been careful to crop the image more so than I've seen before. Because this is not the only image that was available.
Right, there was more.
Is it 320? Or is there another number on it? Anyway. Of course, you got George Perry Floyd.
201, 102, just like our channel.
It was scripted. I came up with this idea back in 2020. I was inspired by an event that happened in 2020. It took my breath away, Inspiration just flew.
It's got the 78 Austin Jesuit.
Beautiful numbers.
Beautiful number.
Just for reference, this is the only thing scripted about our entire channel. Not to say that it is natural. I had a notebook, and I'll find it. It's somewhere around here, where that I was using to take notes in for when we first got our channel up. When I was in the process of creating a YouTube channel, and I initially had names written down for our channel, and then I got the idea it'd be funny, not funny necessarily, but it would be like kind of interesting to see if what the numbers are in our of the names I picked. And so I had like 3 written down. They were all very close to what Unscripted Truth TV was. I was also having to go and look at YouTube and to see if they already had those channels. And there's like this like Unscripted Truth is out there, but not like Unscripted Truth TV. And it's like Truth Unscripted or something like that. I can't remember. It's not that either. It's something else that's close. But these were channels that had like 100 views on a video 8 years ago. So I was just like, all right, I'm pretty confident in using these names. But then the second name I checked, the Unscripted Truth TV one, what do you know? So I was like, oh, that's the winner. So picking of the names was before I ever thought about putting it in the calculator. So I technically picked a 201 name.
The magic of life.
Yeah, that's about as scripted as we will ever get, and it was natural. So that's just how unscripted we are. But yeah, I mean the whole George Floyd thing, and I guess we can quickly, why not do the man some justice since he never got it in life? No, I'm just kidding. But on his supposed death anniversary, uh, which by the way was what was the consensus with Derek Chauvin? Which by the way, it's just like they got jokes on jokes on jokes. It's just like Patrick Dragon in front of the 56 Cruiser, back in the day, and like you mentioned, the loss, that they knew each other from Las Vegas. It's like just like the Las Vegas, like the police chief for that whole like shooting thing. There's so many
Yep.
connections that, like I was saying earlier, these things just go through back and forth and back and forth. And wasn't like Las Vegas connected to like the Lahaina fires in some way? Wasn't there like or the some fires? It was either the Hollywood ones or the Hawaii ones. Some H place burning down. But let's see here. The counterfeit 20 at the same time Congress is stalling the Harriet Tubman bill or $20 bill or whatever it was. Just keeps going. Just jokes on jokes on jokes on jokes on jokes.
Like now we got it's not the big beautiful number, it's the big beautiful bill. Big Twompy just passed the big beautiful bill.
Yo. Wait, this just happened? Of course. Of course they wait till around his death anniversary to charge Chauvin. That's why he has this. Okay. And they pull a retired judge out of the system. I know that very well. That's happened to me during my stint with family court. Pulled a retired judge out to bang the gavel and not let me speak and take my child away from me momentarily. Fun experience. I don't really know what gives them. I don't understand why they can take retired judges out. It makes no sense. It's like they're not going to be invested in the outcome of the case. They're just looking to go back on their retirement. So
I might
let's
just get Judge
see.
Judy on there.
Judge Janine. Any judge with J in their name. Ooh, we got a Peter. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I don't want to read that font. I'm sorry. I'm not 8-year-old. People.com. Am I tripping or why is that? Does this seem recent? Okay, let's see. The TV program. Why did it say 4 hours ago? When? I didn't keep up with this. So, okay. Okay, so he was sentenced in 2 years after. So why are they making it? Is it because there's some like new show out? Let's see this real quick. No. That's weird. Google, you're not Googling.
Oogly moogly.
Oh, they just call it TV because they like basically index it as a TV program. Well, that should tell you something. second-degree murder, second-degrey manslaughter, and third-degree murder. 223, wasn't that? Oh, no, I think I got rid of the wrong thing. I meant to keep the calculator. So, yeah, 223 days. Interesting. Just maybe a coincidence, but still, it's interesting. Seems like 223 is used. Okay. So that, I guess they're writing articles about it today because of the death anniversary, I guess. So I was like, what the hell? But of course, they bring all this back up. What a chauvinistic pig. Anyway, try to use this as some sort of springboard into the larger topic at hand in America, at least, which is this, viral kind of, we've talked about this at length multiple times, maybe not just strictly from the lens of white versus black. And I say versus purposely. I don't consider it white. I don't consider it versus. I'm talking about the publicized versus between the races and different ethnocentric groups or whatever. And a lot of it, as in like almost all of it is manufactured to drive people. It's just like, all the radio stations told you liked Britney Spears, so 90% of people liked Britney Spears because certainly wasn't the music. I can't imagine. I don't think it was the music they liked. So something made them like that garbage. And that's just one example, obviously, but of how they can, drive. It has to do with just it's the psychology of people's herd mentality, which you can either be offended by it or you could look it up and understand what it is so that you can break out of it because it's real. And no matter, even, to this day, you have a draw and a pull to do what the crowd is doing, and if you ever watch like disaster movies, they love showing you this side of humanity. Like I always am reminded of like War of the Worlds, that alien movie. That it's just like lightning is crashing down, it's putting holes in the street, and then the street starts to bubble up and like it's splitting, and people are just going towards the epicenter of destruction. Oh, what's going on over there? Oh, what is it? Oh, what's he looking at? Oh, what's he see? Did you hear something, Bob? What's over there? Joel, come check this out. There's something. It's just like they love, and then of course, the thing pops out, and you can let your imagination run wild with what happened to those people. It's not pretty, but it's the psychology that part of our nature is ingrained into us. And as far as I can tell, all I see it being is an animalistic. I don't see the positive side of it. You can come up, think about like ego and like things that most people would have a negative connotation attached with it, or like selfishness, or like these parts of your personality or your we're going to get into race, by the way. Just these things have to naturally come about. But you can find purpose for those things that aren't necessarily like bad or evil. you can find, I bet there's 1,000 million examples of, somebody's ego saving something, being good at a certain point. When is being a sheep ever getting us anywhere? When and how and where? I would love to see that data of where like our sheep mentality saved our asses. Oh, I'm sure glad we all huddled up and made it easier for bad things to happen. It's just like, think about like concerts. Remember there was like 2 or 3 concerts in 1 year with the whole, what do they call it? They have a term for it. It's like when the crowds just function as a one thing, an entity, and they just smash people and run them over. And so it's just like, when is it ever like a good thing? A crowd of people, disaster struck, and this crowd of people all formed together and came out of it unscathed and were very helpful. That I've never seen that story. It's always like this crowd of people fell off the cliff because they were like looking over the cliff when the cliff let loose. It's so, of all of our personality traits, like that's one I've since I've woken up, so to speak, I've tried to distance myself from herd mentality, and that that takes shape to everyday people as loner behavior and distancing from like social norms and standards, which it is. That's why it looks like that, is because it is. But it's more so, it's not like I can't carry conversations with everybody. I can do whatever I need to do in any situation, but I know what I'm doing. I'm not just doing things to do it because everybody else is doing it. And that has to do, I'll get your thoughts on this, but I just, so people know, or I'm keeping it to a topic, is that this most recent psyop of black fatigue, this is just, like I said, when you have, when you take as many step backs as we do, and we're able to scan and see the things for what they truly are, these things are so obviously manufactured. They're so obviously not the full story. And like I said before we started, when we were discussing what we were going to talk about, there is truth in all of this. There's always truth. There's always a true part of something. Like we can, I'm sure we all have anecdotal evidence that black people can act crazy. I'm sure we all have anecdotal evidence that white people can act crazy. These two arguments are moot points. The fact that you would apply a skin color or a race to what the behavior of somebody is inherently problematic. And I'm not racist, not for the reasons that people's feelings are getting hurt, but that you're not functioning in truth and honesty. You're not seeing things for what it is. And like we say every episode, and you say it, you put it best, we need to be pointing the finger at the real issues and the real problems top down, not fighting and squabbling with each other. And these are all going to be the symptoms that are written in our kids' history books as for why the techno war of 2038 popped off, where it wasn't fought on the battlefield, it was fought online. My great uncle, he had to fight off 4 Yahoo chatbots at the same time, all saying that he was less than because his NFTs were all of Black history. I don't know. I'm just making up some crazy. But these are all. This whole black fatigue thing is designed to be another peg and wedge in the divide between two groups of people, that if we were to just shut our eyes even to all this garbage and stop listening to it and stop caring about it, it can't work. We all have shit to do. We all got to live our own lives. We all have to better ourselves and enrich those around us. If we're busy doing that, we can't care about black fatigue. And I'll explain the ins and outs of that after we get a little bit from Austin here. What's your take on all this? Sorry.
I think you want to talk about the state thing too, or the state divisions or whatever. How all these things are related, and we kind of touched on these the last couple episodes a bit too, in different ways. Kind of last week too, we talked a lot about race and stuff. Um, yeah, and like I said, I mean, how I see it too, and it's just like, like I said, with how things are with me, like my classes and stuff. It's funny because I'm sitting there and it's like, look who I'm surrounded by in the class. I got some black guy sitting next to me. I got a black chick sitting next to me, and another black chick behind me. Then there's, like I said, the Asian girl or women sitting behind me or whatever, and then there's one on the side of me. It's like, that's the thing. Like, people I'll talk to at the gym. A lot of them they're black, they're Asian, and stuff like that, and yeah, and then, of course, like we said, we had, things like George Floyd, 5 years ago, that had to bring about, all this too. And then the Black Lives Matter and the Antifa and all this, stupid stuff that, people have to get into. And yeah, I mean, it's frustrating and annoying, especially where we were in the 90s and early 2000s to where we are now and stuff. And yeah, it's just another way to, put that divide between people. Um, it's a lot like what they do at the states. I mean, yeah, a lot of the red states, the conservative states, the Republican states, those tend to be, more racist states. There's tends to, um, kind of tends to be more of that type of people there. I mean, that's kind of like what you get down in like Texas, and I mean, kind of, like the area of like Wisconsin where I'm from, and even maybe like a state like Wyoming or something. You get those type of people, and it's just, that's what they do. It's with the laws, and that's why, every state, they have to, have these, every state's a bit different. How it's kind of like, for like Seattle, like uh, kind of like how segregated it is. You got your blacks. Well, you got black people everywhere. Asian people everywhere. But you got subsection. You got your little Chinatown. You got kind of your South King area, which is, more of the poor black community. You got, like Bellevue across the water there. You got your billionaires, your Bill Gates and stuff. And then you got like the kind of like somewhat kind of rich section, like where Kurt Cobain lived. And then, a mile from there, I had my studio where I live. So you kind of got, Rick's mix of like rich and poor and stuff like that. And um yeah, that's what they've done with the country too. That's how they've mapped it out. Everybody, everywhere people are, where they live, how they do things. That's why, every state has um, different laws. This state, this gun or this ammo is illegal, or this state, like Washington, you can't even have, uh, you can't even drive around with a loaded gun. It's got to be in, bullets got to be here, guns got to be here, and in this state, this gun's illegal. This state, this bullet's illegal. In this state, you can only have this. In this state, you can't have that. That's why they do these things, and that's why I have these laws. And yeah, I mean, and then of course, you have, the racist people, the discrimination, and all the other things too. I mean, um, especially, with, things like George Floyd and, all the things that created. I mean, out of that, you had the recipe for disaster with COVID, and then, they had to get the George Floyd going, get the riots going, get people all worked up and stuff. And um, yeah, it's amazing how this stuff continues on now too. I mean, just the way, people, and it's the divide on all fronts too. I mean, like I said, it's, you got and this plays into what we were talking about earlier tonight. Like you just brought up, why you got so many people that are, just isolated alone, and you got, you know uh all this, just, you know meshing society that's just not meshing. It's just like, like I've said before too, a crazy stat is like, um, like how Washington's been the only state where I've like driven for living and, doing Uber all these years and like, over like 25,000, almost 27,000 deliveries. And it's like, I get, I do all this stuff and drive and, I've never been pulled over in the state of Washington. And then like, I can't, not get pulled over in like Wisconsin. I've been like pulled over like 10 times there. And like, um, that's just the way the governments are and how, how different people, uh, certain places, they're just gonna, have the cops or the law enforcement target you and come after you, and they're gonna, try and wreck your life. Other places, they're gonna do it differently. But I mean, this is all part of it too, and you see it too with the, like I said, like here, Washington, you got a pretty good mix of people. You got a good mix of. It's not, any real one race. I mean, it's mainly white people, but a lot of places, um, you have these divides where they want you to be a certain way or to fit in, and it's that's one thing too. It's everyone's kind of a lot of places are expecting you to kind of be a certain way, and oh, you got to be this type and think this way and be like that, or and then I hate when people always say, well, then go. Every time I'm like in a red conservative state, they're always like, oh, go to Washington, go to California, go to Colorado. It's like, it's just like the way people are. It's just like it's so annoying, like how people can't, it's like, and I'll be talking about anything, I'll be like talking about, just like um making it so everyone can just easily get a gun and have any gun you want and have any whatever you need, any ammo, if you need a bazooka, fuck whatever the military has, we're supposed to have, oh, whatever, uh you know, whatever somebody has, it's like they got to make a, oh, it's like this, it's like if people want to, get into a big argument, about weed or something, in the weed laws or something. It's like, and here, it's just a plant that grows from the ground. It comes from nature. It comes from the earth. And then people want to, have a big divide on it, it's like, and then it's just stupid, just how we just can't, everything has got to be so overly petty. We got to make everything so majorly petty today, and it's every state you go has its problems and the laws and how they do things, um and the discrimination too. I mean, it's not even just against blacks or whites, or it's against everybody. Everything is just being designed to deconstruct us and tear us apart. I mean, you see it in the way uh most jobs function, the way most businesses are, the way most things are today. I mean, it's favoring one thing, or tearing this person or this thing down, or it's just got to be that way. I mean, there's no it's you're either this or it's either that. People got to fight over the dumbest things, and um yeah, and that's the reason why a lot of people today are alone, and you do have your outcast and your loners, because a lot of people just, they're tired of it. They're tired of the division. They're tired of what the world's become. They're tired of people. They're tired of the bullshit, and I don't blame them. I mean, there's certain people that I got to be around people that are cool and just nice and laid back and chill. Like I can't be around certain people because it doesn't work with me. There's got to be something there for me to want. Ain't
Something's
nothing
cutting
there.
out.
There's no point. There's no this or this.
You kind of
Yeah,
cut
this
out there
this
for the
person doesn't
last
like
like
this. They don't like that,
10
or
seconds.
oh,
It
maybe
was
there's a little
it
bit of
froze
lag
up.
or
Yeah, it was just like a 10-second lag if you remember exactly what you were saying.
yeah, just like um, like just even the family units. You got people. That's why you got people. Oh, this person's leaving this state because of this law, or this person's going here because of that, or whatever. This is just this is the problem is you have uh more division now than ever, and you got more people. um, that just, like I said, just aren't coming together. And if we could just come together on our differences, and there was enough people, in it's like, this weekend, yesterday I was out, mowing, Steve's yard. I always go over there and mow his grass and stuff too, and help him out, and they're really cool and stuff. And he was talking about, just the world, just going to fuck, and it's just, and he's like, yeah, it's going this way because people don't care. People don't care. People aren't doing anything, and that's why it is the way it is. And it's 100% right. And it's frustrating. It's annoying, sitting back watching all this, because you would have thought, people by now would have, like I always say, pointed the finger at the right people and just do what's got to be done. But yet that hasn't happened, and you still have, there are people that are, I mean, there are people that are forced into homelessness right now, and that are forced into these situations. I mean, they're forced to being confronted with this stuff because, they're fighting for their life. You get enough people fighting for their life. It's going to cause, people are either going to die out. They're either going to just die out from the divisions of the world and the problems, or they're going to rise up and fight back. It's like Steve was saying yesterday. He lives on Social Security. They cut that away. Take away what he's got to live. He hasn't got long to live anyways. The way things are going, he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna go out fighting. I'm gonna go kill some people. Like, he doesn't care if he sits in prison. I mean, and I don't blame him. I mean, what people just let these people just take everything away, and I just it's that just has to stop, and it's got to stop from all angles. I mean, I just humanity just is in such a bad place, and then like I said, that's why you got this black fatigue. They gotta, just keep fatiguing us out with these agendas.
You mentioned something too, because you're talking about the state lines and what divides us there, and you're in mentioning the guns and going in between states, and it's just like, that's, people lose sight of what, why territories, used to have more people or constituent centric, um do moral guidelines rather than state laws, territorial law. It was morals. It was religious morals. And yes, it was Christian, half Catholic. I don't know how much New Testament was going around in the early days of colonialism, but it definitely stemmed from Catholicism. But that's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is that they had an idea that, this is before the Constitution, obviously, that it was not only their right, but their responsibility to make sure no territory that is bordering them were to go against those moral laws. And if they do go against those moral laws, they, like firearms, if for that example, then the territory next door, they're not your neighbor. They're not your neighbors. They're other people. We're not neighbors with Canada. They're just other people. That they're not Canadian. That's just a name they gave them. It. I understand that there's a reason for delineation, but it's not at a human level. There isn't. And these titles we put on things. But anyway, like I was saying, it was their responsibility to go next door to the quote unquote neighbors and say, yo, let's restore the order. We're not delving into this. We're not going to do the anarchy, and we're not going to do the oligarch, or we're going to keep the hierarchy the way it is. People ran, and very low involvement by any type of, and who did it? People. It wasn't like a government funded militia. It was a militia that said, yo, Jim, let's go, dude. I heard, Rebecca's husband was telling me blah, blah, blah. I don't know why he let her speak, but she was saying how they won't let her use guns. So they would march down there and restore order. And it wasn't like, oh, nowadays, like you were saying, it's just like, oh, Washington's screwed. And they live in like the tip of Idaho. It's just like 8 feet from Washington. Like it's some huge separation of like, oh man, oh, it smells like Washington over here when they like cross the border. It's it's the same thing. It's not the same thing, but it's the same. We should have the same moral principles that people are people. And the fact that people can function and they have the time and energy to put towards an adjective or a descriptive in front of somebody's, you know, as for what somebody is, rather than the character that they choose to portray themselves, that should be the only thing. I don't care what people want to be called, white, black, Jack. I don't care. They if they act stupid, then they're stupid, and they should be treated. They can be treated as such. I mean, anybody can be treated anyway. Nobody's above the treatment of another person. Morally, we are, but we're not. What's the word? It's not like we're we're not like angelic higher beings that don't deserve inherently anything bad to happen. That's nobody. Nobody's like that. Yet, and by saying that, I want to point out that the only thing we should be banding together to put a label on is classism. And I'm not talking about, oh, the powers that be and the no, there's classism in your neighborhood. There's classes. I don't care if you're in the ghetto or you're in the gated community. There's classism. And though and the it's bottom to top and top to bottom. The bottom, just think about, let's talk about the, primarily black, this is anecdotal. I grew up in a completely black, 90% black neighborhood in St. John's, Portland, Oregon. Literally lived next to a place called the Ghetto. It was right behind my school. This isn't to disparage anything. It's just what it is. I didn't care then. I don't care now. I was living my life, and I didn't see anybody for any other reason than what I saw happening. It had nothing to do with what somebody's skin color was ever, or my own. But you have culture differences, and those are very real things. I'm not saying everybody should be the same or monolithic at all. Let's get that right out of the way. That's not at all what I'm saying, and it's pretty impossible, and it wouldn't look. It just can't happen. I don't think it would never naturally happen, or it would take a lot for that to happen. Maybe one day we'll all be, Arab looking, because that's like the middle ground between the whitest and the lightest and the darkest of complexions, and we'll all be wearing silver jumpsuits and eating glop and paying our digital taxes. But anyway, future. But fuck, where was I going? Yeah, I lost my train of thought with that little stupid thing. Oh yeah. Yeah, we're there's culture differences and everything, but let me just get to the point. As far as this black fatigue thing, this really is a product of classism. And like I was saying, in every sect of people living together, there's what needs to really be put an end to is the classism behavior. Because like I was saying, even with the black community, that I'm just using buzzwords because I don't consider a black community or a white community. That's just so stupid. But because that's what they call it or whatever, there is more of a admiration for what is really considered the worshiping of royalty. You know, and I'm not saying like the British monarchy, but it stems from that uh, psychology, because the lower in the class system you are, the more you tend to emulate the higher in the class systems, rather than try to because that you're tricking your mind into saying you're getting closer, like, because the top down they present something to you as if it's attainable. Do you think the prince had to work to become the prince? He was born and fed with a silver spoon his entire life. No, but these people, the royalty is not working for it. In this case, the royalty in that community is their entertainment people, you know, in current day. And before that, it was these Black Power movement people, Al Sharpton and MLK and all these other people. These are the celebrity voices and things of that nature. But now in this day and age, it's, you know, they bling out and they put a lot of energy towards emulating the upper echelon of their class, of a higher class, rather than and what it does. And I'm giving this example because we're talking about Black fatigue. White people do the same thing. It's just obviously it looks different because the culture shifts, but the culture, the change in instinctual behavior between cultures after generations of living certain ways. That's all it is. You know, we could all, who knows, maybe the pendulum swings so hard that it'll be, you know, whatever. But anyway, the this whole Black fatigue is a product of classism, and people don't even understand is that this Black fatigue thing is just the opposite of the thing that was just happening. The white fatigue thing, we just lived 10 years of it, and now we're acting like it's some big defining thing. And it's not that we are doing it. I'm saying they're pushing it as such. So they're pushing it to the top because they want to enact change with the masses. They want to drive this division faster than the plan permitted before. And of course, the plan only permitted as fast as media could hit our eyes and ears, which, you know, that's been developing and becoming more readily available to every single person in this current year for the last 30 years. So now that everybody has that's why everything's moving so fast, is because we're able to see and hear everything. And when we choose to see and hear everything without a discerning lens and able to see past the psyop of these things for what they are, an obvious division tactic, we fall into it. And what was I talking about earlier? We're going to pick a side. We're the white sheep and we're the black sheep. And we're just going to be sheep on either side of the fence, and we're never going to be the sheep herder. And the sheep herder are going to do what they do and, you know, never mind the sheep herder, we're never going to be the ram. You know, the ram doesn't want to be considered a sheep, so he's over there by himself, and he's got his harem of like hot little female sheep, and he doesn't want to be considered a sheep, like little, you know, little Chester over there, Chester no chicks, Chester dweeb ass. Anyway, no, I'm just being rude to that guy. But looking good, number 9. Anyway, you know, there's classism between the sheep, and but it stems from this never wanting to pull them. It's not about pulling down. That I'm trying to get kind of at that. It's like we're shooting upwards in pretending, basically fooling ourselves to think that we're higher than we are. Like I said, I could describe this place, but maybe I'll find a picture so I can show it to you one of these days. But this place called the Ghetto, I don't know how else to describe it to you other than it was even more ghetto than, like, I think a city type ghetto. It was very strange, but anyway, it's they all dress nice. They all had the modern wear of the times, but they were, you know, dollar to dollar living. But and there's we're all do that. We every sect of people do that. That's what we need to stop. It's not about race. Who Even if racism was rampant, as long as it's not physical, as long as it's not like and they'll make the argument that it's systemic and all these other things. Maybe it was, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. That Why are you wearing what 50 Cent's wearing? Is that because of systemic racism? Solve that issue. Stop the classism. The classism is what keeps us not seeing the puppet master. It's the guy behind the curtain. We can't see him. We're too busy meddling in the muck, in the mire, and the things that don't matter, like black fatigue, like white people thinking it's like we're against them and they're against us. It's so clear and obvious that this is a division psyop. It's just so obvious. The Shiloh Hendricks, really, her last name's Hendricks, the whitest chick you could find, white, blonde, Aryan chick, last name's Hendricks. Yeah, because we all think when we think of Hendricks, we think of a white chick. No, it's clearly little jokes they like to tell. Of course, it's it's not nuanced. It's this insanely nuanced story where it's a African refugee who has like some supposedly he has some case against him that involves a minor, and he's at a park filming with no children. He's the one that caught her saying the N-word. Yeah, this isn't set up. Yeah, this isn't made for TV. This isn't made for Netflix. This is just so natural. We all know that this happens every day. It's so common. It's like, no, it's a show for the sheep. And if you buy it, then you're stuck in the pen. You're never getting out.
Yep. And this is, another product of this too is just, we just have, way too many just laws and rules in society. There's too many laws, there's too many rules, and if we just let people be people, we wouldn't have these issues. It's just like school, you talk about the classes of society. It's like when you're in school. I mean, you got, here's your untouchables, here's your, these are the, the rich kids, the people that the school likes or whatever, and then you got your outcast, where I'm going to be sitting, where everyone and everything's going to be against you, and it's just going to be that way the rest of your life because of the class system. And then people miss out on people like me and other people like me and others out there because of the level of class that people look at you. Oh, this person doesn't have much money. Oh, this person doesn't have a rich fancy car. This person doesn't care about materialistic things. So they just route you out. They just weed you out because you don't want to go by what everyone else is doing, and that's the problem, because you don't have it, like you said, with the classes. The neighborhoods, the people, the way things are, and that's we can't get past, we're the superior side, we're the superior team, we're better, and it's just, that's why it all stems back to just us sitting in that classroom every day, going to school. I mean, just how it all starts. You gotta abide by the rules. You gotta do this. You gotta do that, and you gotta compete. And they just keep us in this competition realm, and it's us versus them. And you know, um,
It's an imaginary hierarchy that they establish, right?
right. I mean, that's just the thing. I mean, you can't, and if you, oh well, you can't talk to him because he's weird, and you can't, go sit by her because she's a lesbian and whatever, and then they're gonna put you in pockets. They're gonna divide you, and they're gonna uh, judge you and separate you out. And if you do something wrong, you're going to get kicked out of class, you're going to fail, something stupid like that. I mean, it's just the way it always is. They have to have these key people in there holding the fort down, making sure everything runs, on the conveyor belt that they want it to, and it's being distributed the way they want it to. is the whole society. That's the way it is with jobs. I mean, oh, you talked about chemtrails today, so you're fired. Oh, you were being nice to that Asian lady over there. We don't, it's just, and then and then these are the people that are going to find themselves, going to be the leaders, the bosses of things. They're going to find their way at the top, and this is how they're going. They're going to tear things down from the inside out, and this is people they push for these reasons. I mean, it's why everything in society is constructed the way it is. It's not constructed for us to come together, to work together, to be a team. It's the exact opposite. That's why you have all the problems you have today. I mean, um, you don't, and then you have all these, you got all these people right now. Think about all the people that, like I said, 80% of the job gone in 5 years. You got all these people right now, um, getting laid off. So, these classes, wealth class or the middle class, whatever class you're in. I mean, the classes are, this is the thing. If we don't overcome this now, we're never going to get past the distortion, because it's already, the billionaires, the trillionaires, the puppets, the clowns of the world, the actors. They're the ones that have all the money, they have all the wealth, they have all the power, they own everything, and uh, everyone else doesn't even have a seat at the table. And then you ain't gonna have. I mean, you already don't have. And most people, I mean, they're only making like a year or less. I mean, that's where most people are at. Most people, I mean, they're never going to be able to uh, afford cars, afford homes, afford to live as it is. And most people now are either live in a car, they're homeless, or life is being taken away. So I mean, the wealth classes, the classes of distribution, is another thing people are going to have to look past. And just you look at like I said too, the divide in the states. How they can't get the states to come together. How the states are so divided. The red hates the blue, and the blue hates the red. You know, and then you got just these stupid petty laws. I mean, how many people are sitting in a jail cell, or they're in prison just because they couldn't, that they were going from Washington to Montana, and they had to pass 70 miles of Idaho, but they had, some weed in their car. They had a gun in their car, or some ammo that was legal in Idaho, but it was illegal in Wyoming, or something stupid like that. I mean, these are the things that that just get. This is why all the states are guilty, and they all have their own problems, and it's a division in every state, and every state's got its flaws, because there's not enough people that are calling out that do anything about it. You don't have people worried about what they should be worried about. They're too worried about competing, and I got to be the best. I got to do that, and then you have all society where people are just going to be placed, or they're going to be placed. That's why they have things. Um, ideas, who knows if it comes to pass, like the income, where everyone just, here's your income. This is what you're going to get. This is what you're going to make. This is what it's going to be, because, there's not going to be anybody that's going to oppose it. Oh, looks like you're only going to make, 2,000 a month, and that's going to be it. And that's what everyone's going to be paid, because, in the classes, but they might distort that. They might say, oh, well, you did this, this, and this, so you get 5,000 a month because you abided by our laws and our rules. That's like the things, like other things we talked about, like the the new ID and all these other things. This is a part of it too. The classes, people around the world, people leaving, coming to America, leaving America, and all these races, and all these people doing all this. I mean, there's a lot to all this, and like you're saying with the black fatigue, this is just their latest thing, and this is something where it's and I'm sure there's going to be some major event soon, because it's almost been a year since of course the fakest news of 2024, the assassination and stuff too. So you got, I'm sure, something along those lines, and that'll be a great way they can uh, throw in the divide of people, especially race divide or something. Throw some different different things around. And then you got um of course too, like I said, you have all these bubbles bursting, jobs, and and then you got people being sent back, that are getting kicked out of the country. They can't do the jobs no more. And then, jobs aren't going to be done. It's, and that's going to cause more job losses and cause more problems in the economy and stuff like that right now going on. And, you just have a major recipe for disaster right now. And you can see the pot is, it's boiling over at the moment. It's, the pressure is cooking.
It sure is. I noticed this funny little article that popped up just recently. It's kind of in the same genre, because a lot of people will bring this stat up that not 107,000 black women, not 100, not about 105, right? Not 106,412. 106,000 black women even. What a number. That 106. That doesn't play anywhere. It would only be a coincidence, it's not like BET ever had a show called 106 in Park that featured 95% black artists and hosts and anything. There couldn't be any kind of like numerical system that would explain why they chose 106,000 black women experience job losses for this. Oh wait, that's like the number of this whole fake identity politics garbage when it comes to black, quote unquote, black people. So I just thought that was funny that it's just such an obvious. All I can do is chuckle before I even finish with like what it's all about. But why I bring that up to show you the gematria about it too, because that's pretty evident. But also, it's there to, it plays into this whole idea. First of all, you post a video about this on YouTube. The comments, and not that I know firsthand, I know without knowing. It's not like I'm sitting there reading comments. I'm not watching these videos either, but that you're going to have a bunch of comments, whether or not that's even real or they're just fake comments that are all going to be like basically testimonials about how bad black people are at the job site, because that's like stereotype. They'll just play on stereotypes, and they'll say it's like, oh, black women are insufferable at the workplace. I knew this chick. I knew this. I knew this lady who did this. I knew this lady who did this. And it's just another thing where it's just like, put on your blinders, pay attention, and talk about what you're told to talk about, stick to the subject, and play along. And nobody's going to ever, break out and realize it's like maybe that has happened. Is that the sentence of an entire subsect of humanity? No, it's such a stupid idea. Would you want to be lumped into a subsect of humanity at all? I personally don't. I got into, I talked with my sister about race not that long ago, and I just, she can't understand that I have opinions. She was, not to say she doesn't understand, it's just that she doesn't function the same way as me. I have opinions about all of this stuff. I can speak on all of this stuff. There's no limit to what I can think about all of this stuff. But I also don't consider myself a white guy. I don't care if you want to call me a white guy. I will never care. But it's just, I'm not like a I'm not with the whites. You know what I mean? I've never thought that way. I will never think that way. It's so stupid to be indexed into something that makes no difference. Just inherently, it makes no difference. Obviously, people will be how they are and they will function how they are, and cultural shifts and dynamics. I get all that. That's more of a real life experience factor, not an inherent genetic factor. I could care less about being white or what that means to anybody else. And the sooner we stop caring about what it means to be any color or anything like that, the faster we can start seeing that, we are at the bottom of the totem pole, and we need to be lifting all of us need to be lifting each other up in order, or we all need to crowd surge. That's what they were called, in the sheep pen. We need to knock this pen over. We need to bust out before we're all led to slaughter slowly, and like the crabs in the boiling water. Don't even know they're getting cooked. But this is just articles like this, and then of course I know we're getting to the end here, so I'll let you wrap it up the last few minutes here. But just this whole the other side of black fatigue, this catchphrase that they like using, which I will say just real briefly, Black Fatigue was a book that came out not that long ago, and what they're doing is like co-opting that terminology, which was originally made for like how Black people feel about supposed racism and things of that nature. And now they're like flipping it on its head and saying that it's what white people feel about Black people's inherent not inherent from beginning of time, but like the last couple generations, people will say that they're I just lost for word right there. Their expectations, to get things for nothing type of deal. Which it's like, how do you foster a generation of people? I could care less about their skin color, what they look like. How do you foster a generation of people to come up and expect stuff for nothing? It's almost as if for a couple generations there, you gave out a bunch of stuff for nothing. No, we never did that. It's them. It's just because of their skin color. That's why they feel that way. No, it's because of social conditioning and adherence to tyrannical laws from a top-down system. And what's so funny too about this group that we love pointing at and showing exactly who we need to be pointing at, and their network of controllers, the Jesuit order, the Catholic Church, and all their network, is they play so well together. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. You think they're infighting? You think that during their conclave, before the white smoke came out, you think they were really in there debating shit? They were playing Scrabble. They were fucking, feeding each other fondue. And we're down here just like bumping into walls and just fighting with each other. And it's just, you look at the people who are truly evil and they have the most tact. It's like, if we could somehow level this off a little bit, just a little bit, to where, awareness to point our anger, but to have the tact to not point it at each other, to where nothing ever gets done. And that's the truth. Nothing ever gets done. Even in the heyday, we like to talk about the 90s and early 2000s, nothing was getting done. Yeah, we were being nicer to each other, but it's not like we were getting things done. Government was still being built right before our eyes. All that stuff was still in motion. Our adult, our parents, my parents, your parents, they weren't fighting the system in order to tear this thing down, even if not to tear it down, to enact radical change on the way things are. Nobody was, not enough people were. I shouldn't say nobody, but that's what needs to happen. We need to. And the problem is, you look around and it's such a task, because everywhere you see, anecdotally, you either have just the sheep bumping into the walls, or people who are so wrapped up in the problems that are presented to us that it's like, where do you start? How do you? It's not even about your job to convince anybody. They are supposed to be answering the call themselves. When are they ever going to answer the call? They're so wrapped up and stuck. It feels like a lost cause. I won't say that it is, because that I'm not that defeatist, but it really just it's not a good look. And this is just another way that they mock us and make us prove ourselves that we're not ready to rise up.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the hardest part of it all is, trying to even find like-minded people too. I mean, trying to find people that, um, maybe they agree about certain things or see certain things or understand certain things, or, maybe they don't like, you know, Trump or something, or Musk. Maybe they see that, things are, uh, you know, on the decline and probably not going to get any better. And you have a lot of people that are, um, there's a lot of people that, like I kind of said when we started tonight, there's a lot of people that are sitting back praying but not doing anything, not taking any action. You have a lot of people with hoping. There's a lot of people hoping and wishing things get better, but you don't have a lot of people or really anybody taking action. Or that are really doing much. I mean, you can find people that do agree with what you're saying and do agree with where you're coming from. And you know it's like I said, I mean, it's really going to come down to, um what happens to the people that, how does society go out. Are most people just gonna, you know fall out from, starvation and famine, and just they're just going to die out on the street of homelessness. I mean, is anyone going to rise up? Is anyone going to fight back? Is anyone really going to do anything? I mean, uh, yeah, I mean, the lost cause aspect is like, it's very difficult to really put it into words, because there's not enough people there's no one to really revolt. There's no one to have a revolution. There's no one to really do anything with. But you have so many people on so many levels. I mean, you got so many people just so tapped out of society. They got nothing. They don't have money. They don't have. They're just kind of waiting for the end. They don't have a relationship. They don't have a wife. They don't have kids. They don't really have a job. They don't have anything that's fun. They don't got nothing to look forward to. So a lot of people, that they are just kind of waiting for the end. They're just waiting for the collapse, or they're planning on just getting out of the country or whatever they're gonna do. So the fact that you have so many people in different situations in life, in the world, I mean, that's the other problem too, is everyone's caught up in something. So if everyone's caught up in something, they got something else going on. I mean, they're not going to really, come together. I mean, like I said, you didn't have all these, mental illnesses, all the problems and all the homelessness and all these issues, back in the 90s, early 2000s, like you do now. I mean, you have way too much that people can't, come together, but there's still too many people that are struggling, that, uh, and the thing is, I mean, like I said, the lost cause aspect is really, to me, it's like the average person, the average people. I mean, um, when you look around, I mean, it's like, for me to sit here, obviously, like we always say, the people at the top, they rule over us because they work together, they come together, they cooperate, and that's why they know how to, be a team and rule over us. We can't, point the finger, but a lot of people, they just don't want to do anything, and it's frustrating, it's annoying, but it's like, at the same time, it's like, especially, for like someone in your situation too, I mean, you have a relationship, you got kids, so it's like, and there's a lot of people like that. There's people that do have, marriages and kids and stuff, and some of them just kind of still admit that, we're in the end of days and it's going down on our lifetime. But there's too much of just, and like people in your situation, it's like, you can't give up and just, be a defeatist, because, you have priorities in life. You got things to do, and and even for me, man, I don't have any things you have. I don't have a house, a relationship, kids, or anything. But I'm still not giving up or quitting either, and I'm not going away. But at the same time, I mean, with people, I mean, that's like why I said this week. I mean, I'm just to the point where, you just got to start somewhere with people and just get, get the ball rolling, just get the energy out. And I think the reason we're, and I feel like, with me, I think people, when I talk to people, they do listen to what I say, and they do hear what I say. But I think a lot of people, for the most part, are kind of caught and stuck in their ways when it comes to a lot of things. And I think that a lot of people, they're not going to look into anything for the most part because it's just too much for them, and it's just going to shut them down. I mean, if people, took the time to, you're not saying that they don't, see things for what they are. There's people that can see that, the Trump assassination was obviously, fake, and what it was for and all that stuff. And, they can see what Trump and Elon Musk and, all these people are. And maybe they've heard, or maybe they probably have heard or do know of the Klaus Schwab, you're going to know nothing be hacked by 2030. And they can see that things are getting worse and they're probably not going to get any better. And we're coming to a point, a lot of people are seeing that and are agreeing right there. So there is some level headedness when in the situation. But I think what it really comes down to, it's like, do people really, care enough to make some kind of a stand, at the top end of things. I mean, like I said, you got the real ID, being pushed. You have these things, AI and, all this stuff. I mean, how many people are just, I think that's where we're stuck, because there's just, when it comes to the resistance aspect, I mean, how many people took that jab? How many people did this? How many people did that? How many people just go along to get along? And, you know, that's what you have to look at. How many people will just do it, and just take it, or just not look into something because of fear, not, not want to do anything because, it's too much for them, so that's where we're stuck. And I haven't came up with an answer of this either. I mean, and I think that's why, you kind of just have to let things kind of play out, and let God take the wheel in a lot of ways when it comes to these things. Because, when you look at it from the standpoint, like we started tonight talking about, just how many views our videos get and how many people are in the community, how many things, and, and I sat here, back in, 2016, when Zach started, and there was, millions of people watching. And, I had envisions of the future and community and coming together and doing all this stuff. And, um, just the way things were, just 9 years ago, and I sit here and I go, well, were those people fake? Were they bots? I mean, where did millions of people go? How do millions of people just vanish? I mean, you had, and the numbers should be way more. It should be way more people here now, especially after COVID 2020, especially in a year of 2025, the way things are. Just, it is very disturbing how rare we are. And it's just, we're living in a very weird, crazy time. And it's just like, it's very difficult because people are so divided in so many ways of what people have, and the haves and the have nots, and what people got going on in their own life. And it's a very difficult time when it comes to all that, managing all that. And like I said, you have just so many people that truly have given up. I mean, they're not just, incels or, just alone. They've truly just quit and give up on life. And there's people that are, it's multiplying by the day. And, that's the thing, I plan on staying and fight until the end, at least as long as I can, and you do worry because we are so outnumbered, and we are, still kind of caught out of position. You do worry, like, how much time do we really have? And that's kind of what my thinking lately, and especially like this week and stuff. It's like, I don't know how much time, people like us really have left to do stuff. I mean, with the things that they got coming, things they're pushing, I mean, 80% of people losing their jobs in the next 5 years, and AI and big tech and these takeovers and all this stuff. I mean, you know, there's going to be nowhere to go. There's going to be nowhere to run. And then, you know, you're going to be hooked up to the AI and the new ID, and you're going to be just shut off from your money and society. And then, you know, it's going to be over. And then, yeah, I mean, that's just where it's at. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, I don't know where people have their lines drawn in the sand. A lot of people, it's like, you know, what are they really going to do? And I believe that so much with COVID in 2020 with the jabs and all that stuff. I really believe that that's what that's for. What that was a major testament to see just how many people will just comply with something and just take it, move on. Because, you know, I mean, now people in 2025, they're just so many people, they're just going to keep doing it and want to do it even more because, you know, now people they're just so sick of this already. You know, they're not going to want to, you know, do anything. And then the younger people are the ones that are, they kind of are being forced to wake up because things are so bad. But
Mhm.
yet a lot of them, things are just so bad that they just want to quit because they know that they just don't have a chance in hell at anything. And it's just a really bad, sad situation that is emerging. And it's hard because it's like, you know, there is only so much that we can do, but it's almost like you just have to almost, it's really weird how I feel about and how I see it, you know, going down and stuff, you know, just talking to people and, you know, trying to see what they're receptive to and what they can catch on to. And I mean, it is amazing how people still don't know about gematria and how things are, and just how many people just will not, you know, go down this road and accept this knowledge and accept what's really going on because it just, you know, their world just crumbles. They can't have this knowledge, this way of life, this way of thinking without everything else, and, you know, just crumbling and shutting down. And, you know, and that's why a lot of people, they have all the issues they have with, you know, depression, anxiety, and they have to manage, you know, their health because they're alone and they don't have anything. And it's a major discombobulation of society where they have it. And yeah, it's like I say, I mean, I can't, you know, we don't have 15, 20 years to go. And you know, I can't imagine what things are going to look like another 5, 10 years from now. And what we're going to have to, if, you know, if we're still here, what we're going to have to live through. And, you know, because there's only the barrier of society. I mean, what is that? I mean, at this point, I mean, you got so many people, like, you know, if people got nothing to live for, they may go out fighting, but how many, you know, what is that point? What is the breaking point? Like Steve was saying yesterday, you know, you know, they take my social security away. I got nothing to live for. I'll go to prison. I'll start fighting. All right. You know, how many people are going to jump in that boat? How many people will actually really start fighting? How people will actually really do something? That's what remains to be seen. And, you know, if people are going to answer that bell or not. And things are definitely coming to a head. I mean, I see it every day, and, you know, you can see it emerging, you know, just the prices of things, everyone's just being priced out of everything. And, you know, more and more people losing their jobs, and just more and more people losing this, losing that, and things just getting taken away. So at some point you have to think that there's going to be you know, and I'm not saying, I don't know, maybe there won't be, you know, the collapse or maybe the dollar thing, like, you know, maybe I was thinking maybe this is just going to be something else or a bleed out, you know. I mean, I think a lot of people have, you know, people, you know, it's like, even lately too, it's like, you know, it's like, man, it's like, I don't know, who do I really point the finger to? It's like, man, is it, you know, do this is like men today too, like men just, they don't really have a lot to live for, they don't have a lot to fight for. I mean, they've been kind of stripped and taken away of everything, but at the end of the day, you still can fight. And it's just like, it's the position I'm in, you know, I'm still here to fight. It's just like, but how many people actually have that mentality? How many people actually think like that? You know, how many people are just going to go out swinging no matter what happens? And yeah, it's just crazy. I mean, it's just it's nuts. It's amazing how rare we are, and why we're here, and what we're here to do. And it's, you know, it's disturbing at the same time. You know, it's hard to say exactly what our purpose is and why we're so rare, but yeah, it's a very strange situation.
Well, yes, and yeah, it remains to be seen, you know, just what that fight will look like when humanity is, I suppose, finally pushed far enough. It's just, at that point, we're pretty much resigning ourselves to the worst case scenario because we weren't willing to do anything before, getting to that point. And unfortunately, it's looking like that is what we're headed to, is just the eventuality. We're not going to be in control of anything. We're not, take our destiny by the horns or anything like that. We're just, like you said, going along to get along and marching towards the beat of, uh, the power of the bees drum. And until we, stop paying mind to the psyops and playing into it, it's not that it takes these things can be fought with inaction, but when all you have is inaction, and when your overwhelming parties are inaction and people succumbing to it, it takes people willing to have a positive action in order to mitigate the people succumbing to it. And what we have right now is 90% of people succumbing to it. It's just like, or maybe not. Maybe there's a larger percent of people who just honestly don't care. But that problem with that is, that would normally be okay if there wasn't such a high amount of people that are willing to go above them and beyond themselves to literally make the world a worse place and their own lives worse. And like I said, march to the beat of their captors' drums. So with that being said, guys, be the hunky Chad Ram and get your harem in this hellhole while you can. I'm just kidding. No, we got to work together and find our way out of this sheep pen together with as many people, with as many as possible, because that fight, it's coming one way or another. And is it going to be a stomp out, and then they, if all that's left is people that weren't willing to fight to begin with, and everybody who was willing to fight gets stomped out, good luck, guys who weren't willing to fight. You just resigned yourself to whatever those people want. You won't have a fallback plan. So I would, anybody that finds themselves, look inward and actually look outward too, and see truth in their own lives, of that being you get caught up in these things. You took jabs, you loved your masks. Wake up, join the fight. It's now or never. And I sure hope that when that day comes, I want to fight for what's right and what's coming down the pipeline. But I don't want to fight another ethnic group on the grounds that they want to kill me because they're so indoctrinated. So I'm really hoping that this crap we can rise up from this and see how stupid it is, and point that angst and anger and aggression towards where it truly matters, and clean up our own lives and clean up these religious scholars, politicians, and pontiffs, and all the systems that keep us in this mentality. But with that being said, I think we'll square that circle off there, and call it an episode. Thanks for kicking it with us, guys, for number 36. We'll have 37 next week, and I believe we'll be continuing the topic in some form or fashion. We, who knows what headlines will come about, or where we'll try to move with this, and we might have Rich. We may not. That might just be a may have, may not every week for the foreseeable future. But till we work something out. But in the meantime, leave us a comment, leave us an email, let us know. If you want to get involved, hit us up. We pay attention to all our comments and all our emails and everything. So, and yeah, be a doer.
Do something.
Yeah, God doesn't care about a bunch of people waiting for him. He's not. That if you think he does, then I'm sorry to say it, but that God sucks. It's not a symbiotic relationship. If you're resigned to a God that only likes people who don't do anything, just think about that. Just think about that. Put yourself. You shouldn't do this, but put yourself in God's shoes. You don't do that. You wouldn't accept that in your own life. Why would you accept that from your God? Anyway, God be with us all. And we'll see you next week. Later.
First.